the government does not want you to know. Now here's the host of the Inside Scoop, Congressional Attorney Mark Levine.
Good evening, America. Welcome to the Inside Scoop. This is a special holiday edition of the Inside Scoop, and it's the last one for calendar year 2007. And I thought we'd take a look behind the scenes, a little bit at how this program is done, who helps create it. It's not just me here. I'm the only person you may see on the screen if you're a regular that listens every Sunday. But there's a hard-working cast of characters, everyone from my executive producer, Jim Southworth, to a whole legion of volunteers that dedicate their time to make the Inside Scoop possible. First of all, I want to wish everyone happy holidays, whatever holiday you celebrate. If you celebrate Christmas, I'm wearing the appropriate green and red 2 days from now. For those like me who celebrated Hanukkah, it's past, but I can still wish you a happy Hanukkah, delayed fashion perhaps. Happy Kwanzaa if you celebrate that, and Happy New Year to everyone. Today I want to explore some of our past, some of our history, talk over some of the things we've done here on the Inside Scoop, and some of the things that we have yet to do, and even play a bit of clips from our past. First of all, let me introduce to you the executive producer of the Inside Scoop, Jim Southworth. Welcome.
Well, hi, Mark. It's been a long 3 years.
It has. Ever since I believe I gave a speech on the Patriot Act before the Northern Virginia Democratic Council.
Business Council, and I think afterwards I walked up and said, how would you like to be in TV?
And I said, well, I've done radio for a couple of years, but I haven't done TV before. What are you talking about?
Well, it was your delivery, your ability to deal with the public, and the Q&A session that we had, which got pretty hairy, as I remember it.
That's true. People would challenge me pretty fiercely.
I would dare say, including a bunch of elected officials who were in attendance for that breakfast. And you handled them very well, almost as good as I've seen you handle some of our more antagonistic callers.
And we've had all kinds. We've had all kinds call into this show. Everyone from lots of folks who agree with me to people who very strongly disagree with me.
Oh, I remember the Palestinian show real well. We had that kill button just ready to have a technical difficulty.
Well, he was very angry at me, but I managed to calm him down and even get a little bit of agreement on our side.
You did an amazing job. In fact, that turns out to have been one of our most downloaded shows ever.
I'll tell you what,
from Google.
We'll try to play that clip sometime in the hour. I've been preparing some clips for today's show, and I went back. Now, the TV show dates back 3 years.
But 3 years and 2 years before that for your radio,
correct? 2 years, right, for my radio. And in fact, if you go to my website, radioinsidescoop.com, I have every one of the nearly 1,000 shows, and I have to count them. It'll take some time. But I'm really close to the 1,000 number, and I want to find out when my 1,000th show is. But I have virtually every show there in archive, so people can see the range of topics we've dealt with on the Inside Scoop. But the oldest video clip we have is one from about a year and a half ago. Now, again, that's only halfway into it.
We actually, in the formal archive, which I had, which you probably should be thankful I didn't accidentally or have available today. Because it was pretty ugly.
Because we've come a long way since then, right, Jim?
Well, that show was originally done with one person on camera, two people in the control room, and one other person running back and forth between the two. So we had a grand total of a crew of four, and you.
Now, the crew today consists of how many people?
Well, it varies. The most complex shows we've done, some of the interactive, nonpartisan crossfire-style debates we had 14 people on our crew that night. All volunteers, as they always are.
And people work very, very hard. I want to make sure, and that's one of the reasons we're doing today's show, is to thank everyone, including the people behind my cameras today and all the people back in the control room. I want to show the oldest clip that we have on the internet, though, because it gives an idea of some of the things that I've done. And I don't want to take credit for the Democrats taking over the Senate per se, but I'll tell you this. The 51st senator, of course, the closest election of the 2006 race was Senator Jim Webb of Virginia. And long before his election, 6 months before, I was talking about the Republican he was running against, the incumbent Senator George Allen, and his racist past. And that's actually the very first video that we have up on the internet.
Long before he was caught.
That's true.
In the macaca trap.
So let's. I want to see some of this. Maybe we can show this right here on the air. And of course, Alan says he's not a racist. But I want to go through some incidents in his. Oh, we're buffering. That's another thing about technology here in the.
Well, the point is that shows that you're running live off the web.
Well, that's true. And then what we do is live shows. I was trying to maximize it so everyone could see it, and now I think I've lost the clip. But we're working on it, folks.
Well, let me explain, if I may, a little bit of the process
Tell
too,
them what we
while
do
you're
here.
getting it. The process here involves, this is probably the most complex show we do at Fairfax Public Access. You've got to understand, we're probably one of the largest shows in the United States, largest stations of this type in the United States. We are now an all-digital facility. We weren't until just the last couple years. And as you've seen, the improvements in our sets and the improvements in our production quality, a lot of that has been because we've been able to get the newer equipment and replenish. We went from literally equipment that was as much as 18 years old, that we had to keep it turned on at night because it wouldn't work if you ever turned it off. It wouldn't come back on the next morning. So it's been an interesting ride as we've worked through all of that. But this show uses specialized custom written software that allows us to synchronize the atomic clock so that we can webcast everything.
Which is very important because a lot of my radio listeners listen by webcast. People who watch here on local Channel 10 don't realize there's a whole national audience that gets it there by webcast and also by podcast. I'm very pleased that we have tens of thousands of podcast listeners. None of you I ever get to hear from, folks, because you can't call in live. You hear after the show. But I'm very grateful that you're there, and I hope you'll continue to subscribe.
And they can
to
always
the
post on the blog, which is also
That's
a
true.
part of the show.
It is very much part of the show, and many people do that. I tried to make this go into full screen. My technician, Jim, is not able to help me this time because you're right
I'm on this side
here.
of the camera instead of that side of the
I'm
camera.
going to switch topics then and take one that's already been downloaded and ready. We won't go to full screen. I've learned better. But this is probably our most famous show. And it's the one where Mike Lane and I switched positions.
Halloween show.
This was the very first Halloween show, and I'm here wearing Republican clothing. Here I am in my bow tie and my badly matching jacket. And here was the very first Halloween Inside Scoop.
And now from Washington, the Inside Scoop. All the news the government does not want you to hear. Now, here's your host on the Inside Scoop, Mark Levine.
Good evening, America. Welcome to the Inside Scoop, and happy Halloween to everyone. I'm your host, Mark Levine, former congressional attorney working for the Democrats. My guest tonight is a frequent guest here on the Scoop. His name is Mike Lane. He's a Republican strategist. But tonight is Halloween. And on Halloween, of course, Americans don their masks to the scariest thing they can think of and play a different character. So Mike and I are going to try something different tonight. Those of you who regularly watch The Scoop know that normally we defend our respective parties. Well, tonight we're going to try something different. I have donned the disguise, if you will, of a Republican. I've followed Tucker Carlson to get the appropriate fashion sense. I got my bow tie and my badly matching jacket. And let me show you some of the stuff that we did in this Halloween show, because Mike and I had a lot of fun with it. Thing, for example, that I know that you Democrats are going to argue about, but we firmly believe that there's a certain privileged class. If you work hard, as Barron Hilton did, his children, great-grandchildren, great-great-great-children should never have to work again because we're the privileged class. We deserve that. Working is for losers. Let's tax those workers.
All right, well, first of all, everyone in America should be privileged. There's no reason why just some people ought to be privileged. There ought to be a special program to advantage every single person so nobody ever has to work more than 35 hours a week again, so everybody can be upper class. Let's just divide the wealth. Let's just make everybody comfortable, and from each according to their abilities, to each according to their needs. This is what should be the American way.
Mike, I think you've been hanging out a little too much with those communists. I think, as you know, there are certain people we care about and certain people we don't care about. Michael J. Fox, for instance.
Mark, the biggest problem we had with this show
around, pretending
was
to
people
Parkinson's.
actually started to believe this was your
Well, it's true. I mean, here I am condemning Michael J. Fox. I have to tell you that Mike Lane sounded more believable, and I just thought he was more persuasive on the Halloween show than any time I've ever seen him before. I'm not sure what the difference was.
Well, what I want to do, if I can, in a little bit, I want to try to give the audience a little bit of a tour of some of the things we're doing. I'd hope to be able to even drag one of our portable cameras into the control room and show some of that. But what I will do is I'm going to ask one of our camera people to shoot some of the other things we're doing actually in the studio. But we'll save that till after the first break.
Okay, fair enough. Let me play just another clip that I've been hiding up here. This is one where I was serious, unlike in Halloween, and I was upset. And it was when Jim Comey gave his very famous testimony about the secret hospital visit to John Ashcroft to try to convince him to break the law, where the president sends his Alberto Gonzales to try to convince an ailing attorney general, is right out of a mafia picture, to break the law, to spy on all Americans, to tear up the Constitution. And this guy, this ailing attorney general, Ashcroft, who is no friend of civil rights, no friend of civil liberties, basically rises from the hotel room to say, but there's still something left to the Constitution. And this was Jim Comey testifying, and me a little upset about it.
And you know, you can't find those clips on the web anymore.
Well, but we have them here, right here
We
on
captured
the
them and
Scoop.
put them in.
This would have been his 6th day in intensive care. And as I said, I was shocked when I walked in the room and very concerned as I tried to get him to focus.
We have to take a break, but I just want to very quickly talk about what we've learned. They tried to get him to sign this document. They tried to get him to break the law. And who does most of the talking? Alberto Gonzales. Card is just standing there. He's the chief of staff. Gonzales is trying to trick the attorney general into breaking the law. He doesn't acknowledge James Comey, who is the deputy acting attorney general at the time. Doesn't acknowledge him at all. Walks out of the room. And yet Gonzales, this man who tried to convince the attorney general to break the law, is now Attorney General of the United States, is now the chief law enforcement officer. More stunning testimony from James Comey right after this break.
Yeah, I wasn't really happy that day.
Well, you know, there's another side to the story that most of the people here don't know. 14 hours after we posted that and posted that video on Google, Google mysteriously removed it.
I remember.
And we were told later, and I won't be too specific, but a certain executive branch of the government had some involvement in a request to have that.
I think we only have one executive branch of the
Well,
government.
funny thing about that, yes.
Yeah.
But through the help of several senior management at Google, it was put right back up.
I mean, now, obviously, Comey's testimony became a very, very large story. It led, I think, eventually, this more than any other, to finally the resignation of the Attorney General, Alberto Gonzales. But the time we posted it, it wasn't a story that was really known very much to the American people, and I'm very proud of what we did, and I'm very proud of Google, by the way, for refusing White House pressure and for leaving that video up.
We work primarily with Google Video as opposed to YouTube or some of the others because Google allows us to put our full 58-minute show up there. And in some of our shows, we have hour-and-a-half shows for debates that are up there as well.
And I guess it's something we have to thank them for, not just because they're a great company, but people can go right now to radioinsidescoop.com. We have 30, 40 maybe videos up there?
No.
More?
101 up on current on the system right now.
On Google?
On Google.
101. So people can check that out just like they can check out the radio show. If you want to call in, by the way, and either wish us well for the holidays or ask a question about the technical aspects of the Inside Scoop, or maybe just reminisce about your particular favorite show, we'd be glad to have you. The local number is 571-749-1166. The toll-free number, as always, 888-488-MARK. We'll be right back after this.
This is Mommy's bed. Me and Jenny were jumping on it. Mommy's gun fell on the floor. I was a cowboy. Bang, 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 bang. I said, Jenny, wake up, it's just pretend. But she wouldn't wake up. If you give me a fish...
If you give someone a fish,
you feed them for a day.
Teach someone to fish.
You feed them for a lifetime.
Give me a fish, and you'll feed me for a day. Teach me to fish, and you'll feed me for a lifetime.
Through Volunteers of America, you can help change lives in your community.
Oh,
Hey, mister, studied algebra in school and got a better job than I could. You take the last couple.
Oh, no, mister. Stuck in an entry-level job because you only learned basic math. I don't have a boss riding my butt like you do, so you take it so you can get back to your desk.
You know, I probably should, but maybe Miss AP Calculus with the $200 haircut in the big office upstairs would like a cup.
Oh, no, mister. What was your name again? Never mind, it doesn't matter. I'm too busy doing important things to care. I just came down for some sweet and start.
You know, if my limited math abilities weren't keeping me from getting a better job, I'd quit this afternoon.
I don't blame you. But thank goodness you're stuck here because we really need someone to make the coffee.
We are back to the Inside Scoop. Call in live and let your voice be heard. Here again, your host, Mark Levine.
Welcome back to the Inside Scoop, the last show of 2007. Happy holidays to everyone. We're taking a behind-the-scenes look today, kind of at how the Inside Scoop has done and has been over the past, well, almost 5 years, 4.5 years on radio and 3 years on television right here at Channel 10. In fact, we started just in Fairfax County, but I'm proud to say we're now in Arlington, Alexandria, Loudoun, and Prince William. And I suspect we're going to be in the District of Columbia and...
Did you say Alexandria and Arlington?
I said Alexandria and Arlington.
I just want to make sure that you said Alexandria and Arlington.
I think I did say Alexandria and Arlington. I think we're going to be in Prince George and Montgomery County, Maryland, and the District of Columbia probably in the next 6 months. And hopefully soon we can get live feed from everyone and get the whole metropolitan Washington, D.C. community talking.
Well, one of the things that people don't really realize about Fairfax Public Access, which is very unique of all of these types of stations in the entire country, is that we have a very active and extremely technically competent internet component to us.
Right.
We are a true internet service provider, an ISP, with our own autonomous system number and full fiber optic feeds into the very core of the internet.
And I got to say, Jim, just at the outset, this is Jim Southworth. He's executive producer of the Inside Scoop. If it were not for Jim Southworth, who is really he's the person that discovered me speaking before a Northern Virginia Democratic Alliance. He is.
You don't want to blame me for that?
No,
huh?
but you are the heart and the soul and the brains behind this. You've done all the technical stuff. You've helped assemble this dramatic group of volunteers who are also competent. They weren't necessarily so competent at the beginning, but they're very competent now.
You've
trained them.
Our activist fanatics.
And they're very loyal and they're very dedicated. But this is a technically difficult show to do. I mean, it's a live television show with call-ins.
And they're all non-paid employees.
Right.
Or non-paid volunteers is a better way to put it.
Which is why we're very thankful.
Yeah, we have people here that they literally are clerical, that we have people that work in very senior technical jobs for government agencies. One gentleman is also an EMT and fireman. We have a little bit of everything on the staff here, and for our show, for the what we call Inside Scoop Productions. And last year, we got so many that we branched out and have now started our second series.
The Inside Scoop Virginia.
And it would not be infeasible that we'll be able to start into a third one sometime soon.
We'll see, step by step. I'll tell you, I did find the oldest clip that we have on the internet, which is 1.5 years old. This is 6 months before the November 2006 election,
right,
where I'm bringing up some charges with Mike Lane that Senator George Allen,
I remember him,
barely lost a race to Senator Jim Webb, the 51st seat, the one who gave the Democrats control of the Senate. I make a very strong charge against him. I talk about allegations that he is racist. Let me play some of that. And of course, Allen says he's not a racist. But I want to go through some incidents in his past. And it's going to take some time because there's a lot of that's going on here. So let me go through some of them.
Go away.
George Allen was born, of course, in Southern California. And unlike most Southern Californians, seem to have had an affinity for the Confederate flag. Now, there's certainly a lot of Southerners that have that affinity. It's quite rare to find that in Southern California. But he was known, in fact, in high school as a racist. A number of his high school students said that he was considered racist. And in fact, he graduated with a Confederate flag pin actually in his high school yearbook. We can show that on TV if people want to see that. But I think it's pretty rare for people to actually, in Southern California at least, wear Confederate flags. He had it in his car. He had it in his dorm room. His sister Jennifer
in a book, which is, with a family like this, who needs enemies, writes a very strong tell-all book showing sadistic tendencies, violent tendencies, really some nasty stuff, along with that's in California, he began the affinity for hee-haw, cowboy boots, and spit and tobacco. In fact, they called him the Neck, a very proud term for him as a redneck. Apparently, he and 3 classmates and an administrator have all talked about some racial epithets that he wrote. This was at a time in his high school. There was a largely black.
The list goes on and on and on and on. But I'm very proud of this research because this was pre-Macaca.
This was the premier GOP frontrunner for the presidential
election in 2008. He was 25 points ahead of Jim Webb, and prior to the Macaca incident, I was already on there talking about some of his racist language and racist behavior. Then, of course, came Macaca, and suddenly all this background mushroomed, and it all became very clear. But given that Jim Webb won by, 6,000, 7,000 votes in the election, so close that they even considered doing a recount. I like to think that some of the work we did on here Inside Scoop may be responsible for Jim Webb's election and even the Democratic control of the Senate.
Well, we've had some amazing content over the last 3 years. Some of the guests that have come to the show from literally all over the country. Some of the war veterans that have spoke, both sides,
right?
At the same time.
We had a veteran supporting the war and a veteran against the war, and some really haunting stuff there. We've done everything. Governor Kane.
The weekend after the Virginia Tech massacre,
right.
We had both the gun enthusiasts as well as the anti-gun.
Now, you were somewhat afraid that the gun enthusiast might be packing himself.
Well, he was.
Oh, he was.
I had him remove.
You mean I was sitting next to him?
I had him remove his clip and the bullet from the chamber of the weapon.
Well, that's good, because I might have insulted him, and I wouldn't want a nationally, or at least a locally televised incident. But no, we've done everything. We've had Governor Kane on the show, and of course, things outside Virginia. I've been proud of the fact that on my radio show, I've had people like Ambassador Joe Wilson, members of Congress, John Conyers has come here. We've had authors and really all kinds of things. A woman I remember that was advocating for D.C. statehood, and she was very strong, but she brought a political cartoon that got us in trouble in Alexandria.
Well, I had to then blank out, go into with a video editor and blank out some parts of the anatomically correct cartoon.
I mean, here's the thing. Look, we've done shows where I bring up incidents about, a sitting senator being a racist. I bring up some very strong points. This is considered free speech. Luckily, no one complains. We talked about Jim Comey and his test. But the thing that got us in the most trouble was not by reporting about Governor Allen or George Bush breaking the law. It was because we had a D.C. activist, and let me just say, I support D.C. statehood. I support full rights to vote for the people of the District of Columbia. And she had this political cartoon which had a woman, and she was nursing a little baby that said Virginia and one that said Maryland. The woman was D.C. The point was that Virginia and Maryland, nurse from D.C. and don't give anything back. And it was the drawing of her naked breast that got me in trouble in Alexandria. They refused to show it.
Well, I patched it with the video editor.
So we had it was covering it up. It's like I didn't realize that this was the most controversial thing. But what other things have been controversial here? What has given us the most phone calls?
Well, I mean, literally, anytime we've talked about the Palestinian, because
anytime we talk about Israel, we get lots.
Quite frankly, you talk with such passion and knowledge. From firsthand knowledge, from having visited there and some of your family history and so on as well, that it's a very authoritative and very content rich.
Well, one of the things I like to do is to challenge the accepted wisdom wherever it is, whether it's stuff from our government, stuff from the mainstream media. I did a show recently where there's icon of the Palestinian Intifada, which is supposed to be a boy who was supposedly shot by the Israelis, and yet the forensic evidence suggests that he wasn't shot by the Israelis at all, and I played some of that on here, and that's the kind of thing.
Well, we showed the puffs of dust or smoke as the bullets would hit the barrier behind him, which said the bullets weren't coming from the Israeli position.
They would have come at a certain angle and not. But it's important, I think, to challenge the accepted wisdom wherever it is. And one of the things that we've had on this show is we've had people come in and try to give me conspiracy theories. Sometimes it's accurate. Sometimes people find things. And I follow up, and it turns out to be true, and I do those things. And then we have people that, claim all kinds of things and come in on the show, that the World Trade Center was bombed or things like that.
Well, one point I think that's well worth making is that we are a partisan show. We make no apologies for that.
I give my position.
We are a partisan show. We're a progressive show. We're I would say centrist. Moderate Democrat.
I have people that disagree with me to my left and to my right. I will certainly condemn the Democratic Party on occasion.
Well, it certainly gives us a lot more content that way, too.
Well,
We should play both sides.
I have people, but one of my favorite guests has always been Mike Lane.
Absolutely.
And as much as Mike and I disagree strongly politically, I have to say Mike has been a gentleman. We've never come to blows. Well, maybe except for one instance.
Well, I've been trying to find that clip, and it was, I believe it was the last November show from last year in 2006. Where, do you have it in your pocket?
I do. Of course I have it in my pocket. Every show I do.
May I borrow that?
I do. I carry the Constitution. Take my Constitution away from me.
You were shaking it, and it flew out of your hand and bounced right off the middle of Mike's forehead.
Yeah. And that was, it was very important to me because the Bush administration had been trampling on the Constitution the entire time. And so, I was...
I think it rattled Mike just so much that we everyone in the control room and the studio all broke up laughing all at the same time.
Now, I'm told that behind the scenes, I use the Constitution so much in my show that you have a pool going on?
Well, in the headsets, in the intercom between our camera operators and the control room, we usually, when we get into a show, we know where it's going to come out. We have a pool going to see who's going to be the most accurate on the number of times you're going to take it out and shake it.
I see. So how many times is it usually per show? I mean,
well, it ranges from 3.5.
Half?
Well, you don't shake it sometimes.
Okay, I show it but don't shake it. So 3.5
to as many as one case. You got pretty riled. It was about 11.
11 uses of the Constitution.
11 uses of the Constitution.
And I want to say that I am proud as a progressive to show the Constitution as my armor, as my weapon, because it amazes me that conservatives claim to respect the Constitution when we have a president who's constantly violating, warrantless wiretaps, torture, people in prison without trial. It is we progressives, I think, that are truly the guardians of the Constitution.
Well, since we're on that subject of that type of entertainment value, there is one more pool we do in the headsets.
Okay.
There's one particular guest who we've not had on for quite a while now, but from our GOP friends. Well, yes. I think we're coming up on that.
We are coming up on a break. We'll save that story till after the break. And coming up this hour, behind the scenes, we're going to show you the people who work so hard on this show. If you want to call in, wish us well, tell us your favorite clip, do what you want. Toll-free number, 888-488-MARK. We'll be right back.
Some people in Fairfax County don't know what public access means.
Some think it's just another channel on the dial.
But it's much more than that.
It's the voice of the people.
People like you.
Your neighbors, your friends,
or your family.
People who want to share ideas,
opinions,
cultures, lifestyles,
art,
sports, music,
events, entertainment,
history,
science,
beliefs.
People who want to learn about television,
producing,
directing,
cameras, audio,
lighting,
editing, or radio, talk, music.
Whatever you think people should hear.
Public access is the place where everyone has a voice.
And it's the place where that voice gets heard.
A place where you can create your own form of personal expression.
So what do you want to say?
Whatever it is.
You can say it here.
Because we're public access.
For the people.
By the people.
It is about balancing our choices between the gray of the concrete jungle and the stunning beauty of the real one. Between a stoic facade of granite and the fury of the canyon. It's why there's EarthShare, the simple way to find balance. EarthShare is the workplace giving program bringing the leading environmental groups under one umbrella. Support EarthShare, support them all. EarthShare. Please ask your employer about workplace giving. To learn more, visit our website.
Thousands of kids in this country have everything it takes to go to college. except the money. The United Negro College Fund. A mind is a terrible thing to waste.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Call in live and let your voice be heard. Here again, your host, Mark Levine.
Welcome back to a very special holiday edition of the Inside Scoop. Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa. If you've just celebrated Hanukkah, Happy Hanukkah to you. Whatever you celebrate, certainly Happy New Year. This is a special show, and a show where I really want to take the chance to thank all the extremely hard-working people that have worked behind the scenes on the Inside Scoop for 3 years now. Sitting next to me is executive producer of the Inside Scoop, Jim Southworth. He's the guy behind the scenes that does all the work. I'm just the face you see on camera. But there's a whole host of volunteers that are behind the scenes on camera. And in fact, if we could get our cameras right now to focus on each other and show what each of you are doing. Is that possible? Let's see if we can get some of that. We have
that's camera one.
Camera one is going to show maybe what this is Ron England. He's behind camera 3. Let's show it what he does, and then maybe we can even show the teleprompter that I read from. See if we can get a picture of that on the screen. What we're doing things live, folks. This is technical live. It's as difficult as it can be. Are those ready now? That's Ron England. Ron, say hello to everybody. Wave. That's good. And Gail, see if you can show the teleprompter here. What I read from. You know, if she can show it, you'll see what we have here. We have a clock.
Ron, turn your camera face toward her. Dueling cameras.
There it is, right there. We got it. So you got a clock. That's the upper right of the screen. It's got how much time.
Well, actually, it's not a clock. That's a very sophisticated computer program that's timed off the atomic clock. So we literally, anyone that's tied into us network-wide across the entire world, those clock is perfect.
Let's show that again. So this clock tells me how much time has elapsed, how much time we have to go. We have 11 minutes and 50 seconds till our next commercial. It tells us when the next PSA is, the number. And on the left-hand side would be people who call in. Phones on hook already. If you were to call in, your name would appear there. And in fact, you can still call in today right there at that number, 571-749-1166, or also the toll-free number. But what's interesting, Jim, about the teleprompter is some people assume I get a lot more information from there. What we have in the teleprompter is who calls. Very occasionally, someone from the control room will have an insight.
With an emergency or a problem.
And will tell me something. But I had an ambassador on my other television show, a former ambassador to Iraq, who was sure that I was reading everything that I had to say on the teleprompter. And I think you set him straight.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, quite frankly, he had never seen anyone who could actually speak impromptu. But I explained, we have a trial lawyer here.
And it's live television. I have to do this every single day. It's no big deal to me. I want to show you another person on camera. This is Gail. She's on camera 1. She has certainly been a big help to the Inside Scoop over the years. And I should say that as helpful as Ron and Gail are, they're just 2 of many dozen people we've had on camera here.
Almost 24, counting everything.
So they're here today. They're here. We thank them for being here 2 days before Christmas. But they're not the only ones. We have a whole legion of volunteers. And actually, I'd like you to go back to the control room, Jim, and bring me my sound engineer, if we can do that without disrupting the show. I don't know if that's possible, if we can get Rich in here. Because Rich is tremendous, and I want to give him special
And then we're going to swap off, and when we get Jim Girardi and some of the others.
But I want to give special kudos to Rich, because he's someone who handles the internet streaming now. He handles the sound. He tries to, he has to juggle a lot of sounds. We have live phone callers. We have me. We have my guest. We have video from clips from the internet.
Well, and soon video conferencing, so we can bring in, we'll talk more about that in a few minutes.
Even we can video conference with people in other countries.
Yep.
And so Rich has to handle it all, along with, when we come into the show, when we come out of the show, when the music plays. So here he is, my hero.
Come on, Rich, come on.
Come on camera. Rich doesn't come on camera very much, but we could not do this show without Rich and other people like him, and he's the best there is. So I just want to thank you for doing what you do on the show.
Thank you, Mark.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I don't know if there's something you want to say. We'll give you a mic.
Nope, I'm fine.
No, he works in the background, which is just fine. And we're very glad to have you, Rich. And we need him.
Send Jim Girardi
because we have a phone call coming, and no one can bring in the phone call unless Rich goes back there.
Absolutely.
So we do have a phone caller, and I just want to thank everyone who's called in all these years, by the way. All my callers, whether you've agreed with me or disagreed with me, we've been very glad to have you. And to show you this is a show that's not just shown locally in Northern Virginia, not just in Fairfax, Arlington, Alexandria, Prince William, and Loudoun County. We have one of my favorite callers, Ken from San Francisco, California, is calling in. He's someone who listens regularly on the web to the radio show and the television show, and it shows you sort of the length and breadth of our audience. Let's get Ken from San Francisco. Welcome to the Inside Scoop.
Hey, Mark. Thanks for taking my call. I wanted to, first of all, congratulate you on being on the radio for so long. I don't agree with you politically by any means, but I'll tell you, you've taught me a lot of stuff. So I love listening to your show.
And Ken, honestly, it's conservative listeners like you that actually make the show. I mean, I love my liberal listeners. I love the people. Most of my listeners tend to agree with me or be to my left. But it's people like you, Ken, to my right that keep me on my toes and call in and challenge me. And that's my favorite thing. You know, a lot of talk shows, they don't bring in people who disagree with them. But people like Ken call in and give it to me, and that's part of what makes this show so special. So I very much appreciate your call, Ken.
I also, and thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate you saying that. I do have a question for you also on your show. Has there ever been a show that, when it was all over and done with, you thought to yourself, boy, I wish I didn't have that topic. I wish I didn't, the show didn't go like that. Has there been a show like that that you've had yet?
Maybe one. I can think of, how about our friend from Utah, that the Utah young Republican.
Oh, that wasn't so bad.
It got a little ugly.
You know, look, I'll tell you, we've had many technical problems. Anytime you do a live show with live call-ins and live internet, heck, just earlier in this show, I couldn't get the video to run. So we've had all kinds of technical problems that I've regretted. But in terms of content, you know, I've certainly said things, Ken, that I have regretted. And I've even come on shows where I've made a mistake, and I make mistakes, and said, I got this fact wrong, here's the truth. You know, I misstated this. Or one time I even had to apologize for things I'd said. But generally, no topic I feel is beyond the pale. I mean, we've done topics. I'd like to show one topic that we had recently on Larry Craig. And I had a therapist come on the air talk about handling when straight and gay people are married to each other, the difficulties of that. And this is Larry Craig. This is John Craig, no relation to Larry Craig. Excuse me, John. And he came in and he talked about this very controversial topic. And I don't think you saw anything like this anywhere in the mainstream press.
Well, you can't. A commercial show would not fund
that
type of
carry
production.
That. And yet here you have something that's affected our senator. It's a widespread problem. There are lots of gay and straight marriages, particularly before gay civil rights. A lot of gay and straight people married to each other. Let me play some of this clip between me and therapist John Craig.
Before they ever married that woman.
And the woman decided to marry the man anyway.
She said, this is probably a phase he's gone through. He's clearly in love with me, and so this is what we're going to do. And then later, those feelings may have, become stronger for different kinds of psychological reasons.
You mentioned the range here. Is there a range, do you find this more common in white or African American or Latino or Asian communities, or pretty much across racial lines?
It's extremely difficult to measure these things because people don't always tell the truth on questionnaires. And so it's hard. I would imagine it's the same in most, different ethnic groups.
Do you find there's a difference among age? Is this more likely to happen with men and women in their 60s before the gay rights movement happened than, say, couples in their 20s?
I don't think so. I'm not sure, but I'd imagine it's pretty consistent. I think in older generations it was handled differently, much more like Larry Craig handled it.
How was it handled 30, 50 years ago?
Oh, I think much more of the situations like the one Larry Craig found himself in,
hush-hush? Do they stay together?
Hush,
they don't get a
hush.
divorce as often?
Right.
We did a full hour on this topic, and here you would think this is a very interesting topic for all the CNN and MSNBC focus on Paris Hilton and her shenanigans. This is real life stuff.
It's gotten hundreds of replays off the website.
Interesting.
Hundreds of replays. So we know that it's been a subject that people have had some interest in listening or watching.
And yet, apart from the Inside Scoop, you don't see this kind of content.
No, well, and that's one of the advantages of public access. We're not commercially driven. So literally, there's no one sitting there ready to strangle you, as even your other show.
Well, yes, we do have. I do have to thank our advertisers. We do have people who are willing to put it out there and to advertise on the show. We've had some union support and some support from other organizations. But really, one of the things I've done is not just. I mean, I try to not just do my point of view, but I'll bring on Mike Lane and I'll give another point of view as well.
Well, we've had some interesting callers too, from literally all over the world. I remember and you've had them on the blog several times from Finland and Denmark, and I think even China.
Right.
Well, we actually had one night some of those people called in from Europe. I remember putting them on the air.
From Germany called
one night alone, we had 11 phone calls, and only 2 of those were from Northern Virginia.
Now, in the future, you think we can actually get these phone callers their video?
We're going to show that to you in just a few minutes.
Well, you actually think we can get people from the other end of the globe, from Australia, for instance, coming here on the show live and calling in?
And the quality is amazing. The quality is amazing over the internet. I'll show you in a few minutes.
So we'll get to some of that. One thing before we go to break, though, I want to play. We've had all kinds of advertising from all kinds of people, and I want to thank those that have advertised on the Inside Scoop. And I also think that we're willing to show things that, well, a lot of people perhaps aren't willing to show. Here, for example, would be a Republican ad that we'd be happy to show right here on the Inside Scoop.
Mitt Romney, Mike Huckabee, and Tom Tancredo are all claiming the endorsement of Jesus Christ. So isn't it time to take a look at his record on the issues that matter most? Jesus' universal salvation plan has stolen the jobs from thousands of angels and raised violent crime in the kingdom of heaven by 33%. Jesus has been unwilling to account for his teenage years or to make any statements about the gay lifestyle, and that sends the wrong message to our kids. His violent clashes with the money changers means that lower corporate taxes that help our economy might not be the biggest priority for Jesus. And despite giving dozens of speeches on the Middle East, Jesus has refused to call the Islamofascists by name, and he's even suggested that we turn the other cheek. Jesus, if you're starting to think that he's too liberal for America, you've nailed it. This message brought to you by conservative Christians against the teachings of Christ.
Conservative Christians against the teaching of Christ. Now, this is the kind of thing you can't show on a regular network, but here we have an attack ad, much like the Republicans are running. And, I think it's only fair to point out, since they're all claiming Jesus' endorsement, to find out what Jesus really stands for. And lo and behold, Jesus was a liberal. Oh, my God.
Either that or he was just swift-boated.
Well, perhaps so. But we're willing to take chances, I think, that network shows aren't willing to take. And yet, really, I think this was, it may have been an attack, but everything they said about Jesus was accurate. In this Christmas season, they simply pointed out his positions on the issues. I think it was a fair ad.
Yes. We're going to hear about that one, I'm sure, on the comment line tomorrow.
You think so? By the way, folks, every show we've done, at least in the last year or so, and
every show we've done, period.
Well,
there's always a comment line. Besides the blog,
right?
There's a telephone call-in that we flash.
And a lot of people, by the way, do comment on the blog. It's something we always encourage to do, whether it's tonight's show or any show. You simply go to radioinsidescoop.com. Put whatever comments on. We've had long arguments. I remember some shows where let's show
one of the Palestinian
here.
shows went like
50
or 60 some deep.
Here, this is the broadcast archive of the Inside Scoop, and it's very, very long. And this is just every show we've done. Look, it just just on and on. It's just 2007. The list just goes on and on and on. Here, Gonzalez, lies, more lies in politics, and iTunes, the 9/11 Truth Movement, Diary of a Peace Activist. It just goes on and on. We have covered a lot of material. And coming back, I want to talk about the future and how we can actually get phone callers from other sides of the earth. When we will come back, you are still welcome to call in. There's one more segment left. Toll-free number 888-488-MARK. We'll be right back
after this. This is Mommy's bed. Me and Jenny were jumping on it. Mommy's gun fell on the floor. I was a cowboy. Bang, 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 bang. I said, Jenny, wake up, it's just pretend. But she wouldn't wake up.
If you give me a fish...
If you give someone a fish,
you feed them for a day.
teach someone to fish.
You feed them for a lifetime.
Give me a fish, and you'll feed me for a day. Teach me to fish, and you'll feed me for a lifetime.
Through Volunteers of America, you can help change lives in your community.
Oh, hey, mister, studied algebra in school and got a better job than I could. You take the last couple.
Oh, no, mister. Stuck in an entry-level job because you only learn basic math. I don't have a boss riding my butt like you do, so you take it so you can get back to your desk.
You know, I probably should, but maybe Miss AP Calculus with the $200 haircut in the big office upstairs would like a cup.
Oh, no, Mr. What was your name again? Never mind, it doesn't matter. I'm too busy doing important things to care. I just came down for some sweet and start.
You know, if my limited math abilities weren't keeping me from getting a better job, I'd quit this afternoon.
I don't blame you. But thank goodness you're stuck here because we really need someone to make the coffee.
Talking about the video camera that you're on.
We are back to the Inside Scoop. Call in live and let your voice be heard. Here again, your host, Mark Levine.
Welcome back to the Inside Scoop. We've done a lot over the past 4.5 years on radio, the past 3 years on television, but we can do a lot more. I'm looking forward to the day when we can do video streaming right here live on the network.
Technically, we can do it now,
Right,
and
so
we have all the capabilities.
We just have to get the station
Right.
to agree to that. There's a lot of things we can do. We've had callers from all across the world call in. And now we can actually have video callers call in, right, Jim?
Absolutely. In fact, as you with one of the cameras, you'll be able to see take a shot of the video conferencing telephone we have sitting here on the console. And
this is Jeremy in Australia. Jeremy, welcome to the Inside Scoop.
Thank you very much. Welcome to Adelaide, Australia.
Adelaide, Australia. You're already Christmas Eve there, right? The morning of the 24th?
That's right. We're getting very close to Christmas. It's worth following us.
It certainly is. Now, you can call us using this video phone. We can have people from all over the world, right, Jim?
and as you can see, there's almost no delay. This is running via undersea cable over the internet live from Adelaide, Australia.
So have you listened to the...
We talk to people all the way around the world. We've got people in America, South Africa, London, parts of Europe, and a lot in Australia. It all started about 3 years ago as a part of a development of further communications, taking VoIP to a level where we can interact at a visual as well as oral level.
Now, VoIP is Voice over IP, Internet Protocol.
That is correct.
This is all being done on the Internet, our way to connect to you.
That is correct. We are on the public internet at the moment, and this is helping with a lot of remote communications, such as in health and medical
telemedicine.
Be able to communicate between specialists, doctors and nurses, and remote communities.
So, Jeremy, how's the Inside Scoop received in Australia right now?
Oh, he gets
You're
us.
extremely clear. We see you very well, and we look forward to seeing when that broadcast is going to be on the internet so we can watch it every day.
Well, that would be great when we could have that live video streaming.
We're getting this just to give some technical perspective. This is taking us only about, let's see, we're running about 130, 140 kilobit worth of bandwidth for the video, and then about another 100 on top of that, round numbers, for the audio at the moment, Jeremy?
That is correct, yes.
So we're about 250 kilobit. Now, the typical DSL line or cable modem line...
250K, that's nothing.
That's correct.
That's nothing. I mean,
and you're seeing
the shows we do, even the radio audio shows are at least 12 megabytes,
well,
12 million K rather than 250,000.
We can take this even further. We can actually take this to the point we could put 6 or 7 people on the screen at the same time. All of us seeing and hearing each other instantaneous all over the world.
So that will be the future of the Inside Scoop. Hey, Jeremy, thanks for being part of this little experiment with us.
Oh,
Thank you very much.
One of the problems we have here is people don't believe he's in Adelaide, Australia. Now, it's dark here. It's 7:19 at night. He'll turn his camera and point it out his window so you can see
So
the
this is
sun.
no trick.
No, you can sunlight.
There you go. There's
sunlight in
I
Adelaide.
I don't know how clear that is. It's showing.
Just give it a sec. It'll come out.
Oh, okay.
It's so bright out there.
Because it's your early morning there in Australia. All we see is white now, Jeremy. People aren't going to believe us. It's going to be like the moon landing here.
No, I'm sorry. We're just a bit too bright outside.
Well, that's okay. You know what? This is just the start. We're showing the future. Come 2008, 2009, we'll show more of
those that watched Fox News and some of the others during the war got used to seeing some of the dial-up video coming in from the front.
Right.
We're talking to Jeremy half the world away.
It's amazing.
And there's almost no delay. That's possible by today's technology. And this only costs us a few $100s for the equipment.
Truly amazing. Well, thank you for showing our listeners the future of the Inside Scoop, Jeremy. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Inside Scoop, and we look forward to you coming to Australia.
Good day, mate. I've always wanted to say that.
Good morning.
Good morning. Fair enough.
Bye-bye.
If you could reconnect the web on the computer, I want to show people a little bit about our website. See, I have to use Jim. This is a live show. He's got to go and connect me up again. That's one of the things that we do. One of the things about live television, actually, and people I don't think realize how much work it is, because if something doesn't work, you can't take it over. Jim had to go and literally hook up the computer again so we could show you on the web. I do want to give people an idea of what's on radioinsidescoop.com. If you go there, you see this is just this week's show. We had the holiday show, a very controversial show. Was Jesus God? I'm not afraid to take on any topic.
Oh, my.
We've had Why Congressional Democrats Cave. That was just this week. What Democrats can learn from football. But if you click on this broadcast archive right here, you can see, it's kind of hard to see, you can just see just the wealth of shows. We have 1,000 shows here. And here, I mean, I'm just looking here. Darth Cheney, a man who loves treason, torture, and the dark side of the force. November 2005. I'm just randomly picking stuff here. Oil companies, record prices, record profits. Gay marriage is legal today in Massachusetts. May 17th, 2004. America's healthcare crisis. All the way down to my very, very first show, June 22nd, 2003, on Homeland Security, which you can still hear.
Well,
my very first show.
We need to talk about that for a second. I don't think everybody realizes what your history is, sir. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Magna cum laude out of Harvard in economics.
Yeah.
Essentially, among that same level of performance with your law class out of Yale. Then you were also a Fulbright scholar in Switzerland for a few years.
It's all true, and here I am doing this show. I don't know.
Then you were a trial lawyer and actually making some money before you really threw it all away and went to work on the Hill.
You know, sometimes idealism does strange things, and when I saw what happened in the Bush v. Gore decision, saw that the Supreme Court was not allowing the American people to choose the president, but actually 5 of them were choosing the president for themselves. I gave it all up. I gave up a high-paying career, and I started the Inside Scoop. Well, actually, first I came to Washington, as my listeners know, to work for several years for the Democrats.
For the Homeland Security Committee and the Judiciary Committee.
For Congressman Barney Frank. But we kept learning things there that the American people didn't know about and that I felt had to be told. And that's why I did my very first show on Homeland Security, to talk about a secret off-the-shelf organization that Bush had set up by secret executive order called TTIC, the Terrorist Threat Integration Center, where he wasn't allowing real-time threats to Americans to go to the Department of Homeland Security because I guess he didn't want them to be used politically in some way or another. And so I helped break the story that, hey, guess what? We're not even getting real threats against Americans because the president was playing politics with it. And that was my very first show. But we've since then done shows on everything from when Reverend Sun Myung Moon got crowned in the Senate to the alliance between white supremacists and Islamic terrorists to when our ambassador to Italy was running torture camps for teenagers in America. We've really covered a whole host of issues. And I got to thank you, Jim, for helping to bring radio to television.
Well, it was obvious that you were an angry young man 3 years ago.
No, but angry in a good way.
But competent.
Competently.
You were. I guess angry is almost the wrong word. Passionate.
Well, passionate. I've always been passionate about what I have to do. And I want to invite people to go to the website to check out some of the broadcast archive. If you can see, I'm just randomly picking up stuff. We have lots of debates with Mike Lane. We have here's Spies in the FBI, an update with Sibel Edmonds. And then what you do is if you click on the blog, you can see all the comments from each show. So here are all the comments when Sibel Edmonds came on my show talking about how there were spies in the FBI. You see my listeners leave lots and lots and lots of comments. And so this is really a resource for you. I've had people do research papers on some of the things that I've done here. And then here's the video archive. And this is some of the video that we have based on the television show, all here. And I'm really very much proud
Jim
of our
Girardi.
work. You mentioned we had a show on Israel where we had a very angry caller.
And Joe and Alexander.
I actually was able to find, I think I was able to find that caller.
Just real quick.
Let's see if we can get that. And also let's bring They some made of our a film people shown out. on Iranian TV about Palestine. Oh, let's see if we can get that. Oh, I don't know we have that caller.
It was a children's march.
All right, okay, we can't get that's part of the problems with the live show. Before we end, though, I want to thank everyone in the control room and all the people that are here today and all the people that have ever worked on the Inside Scoop. I think if we added up all the people that ever worked on this show, it's probably been 100 people.
Absolutely.
Jim, come on out
come
here.
here.
This is Jim Girardi.
How we doing, guys?
He works backstage like many people.
He's one of our directors.
One of our directors.
I'm wearing white. I shouldn't be on that.
No, you should know better, Jim. You would tell us not to wear white,
I know.
and here we go.
I'm on camera.
Again, I want to thank Jeffrey Sachs and Sid Sachs, who early on were working very heavily on the show. Your daughter, Susan Southworth, is amazing in the way she's
a PhD in linguistics and otherwise, but this was her way of putting something back in the community.
And actually, a lot of this was her idea, I think.
Yeah, she drugged me into this.
Because she is back there probably other than you, more frequently than any other person. She's off today for the holiday. But it's everything you can see is on the website, radioinsidescoop.com. We get help from everywhere.
All right. See you guys.
Jim, you've been terrific.
Merry Christmas.
I thank the camera people. And if you want to comment on today's show or any show I do, just go to the web, go to the blog, leave your comments. It's easy to do. I was just looking right here. We have a show here where I had an Iraqi veteran on the air. Let's see if we can play.
Let me make a point. People have been asking again what the website is. Actually, www.radioinsidescoop.com.
And you can link to the shows from everyone there. In fact, Jeremy in Australia apparently has been telling us that. Let me just show you real quick before we go. This was me and John. I mean, they're still kind of forming what they believe. I would think for some of them, they would do as you say. This is the enemy. Not really like this. I mean, this older gentleman. I mean, you don't have to be 20 years old. This guy's. It looks like he's in his 40s. Sure. And it's still conflating Bin Laden and 9/11 and the attacks on New York as if they had something to do with Iraq. Right. And we all know they had nothing to do with Iraq. So I've just tried for a long time to let people know the truth, let people know what are going on. If you want to subscribe to the podcast, just go to radioinsidescoop.com and subscribe there. Jim Southworth, you have been amazing. You've been the rock. I know you may have to move on. I, for one, don't want you never to leave and to continue working here on the Inside Scoop for as long as I can possibly keep you. Again, more information on the website, radioinsidescoop.com. Comment on today's show, comment on any show. Check out our broadcast archive. We're going to be away for a couple of weeks, but there's a lot of shows there. Everything we say from abortion to Zimbabwe, from A to Z. Check out, see what you think. Leave us a comment here on the Inside Scoop. Again, happy holidays to everyone. Merry Christmas, happy Kwanzaa, happy New Year.